roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. A very good morning to respected guest, Chancellor, Vice Chancellor, faculties, and all the students of Somaiya Vidyavihar University. We, the Guest Lectures Committee, would like to welcome you all to the second episode of GLC's new series, Careers and Conversations, a stage to learn from the stalwarts' experience to form a clearly mapped out path. Now, I would like to request Mr. Arun Tukral, sir, our Guest Lectures Committee faculty head, who is a professor of practice in finance and leads corporate relations at KJ Somaiya Institute of Management.
Thank you, Tanya, and good morning, everyone. I am Arun Tukral, and on behalf of Guest Lecture Committee, I welcome you once again. At KJ Somaiya Institute of Management, we present the second episode of Careers and Conversation. This is an elite and exclusive platform to engage with eminent speakers from different walks of life, and they share their personal and professional journey. This platform aims to provide ample learning opportunity through real-life stories to our students, alumni, and faculties, and everyone. For each of our event, we normally have a sub-theme also, looking at the profile and achievement of the respective guest. And theme today is freedom of possibilities. So we are pleased to host and converse today on freedom of possibility with Geetha Ravichandran ma'am, Principal Chief Commissioner of Income Tax Mumbai, an eminent personality who surely took the path that is less traveled, as Tanya spoke. Geetha Ravichandran is an author and poetess by heart and a bureaucrat by profession. Geetha Ravichandran ma'am is an IRS officer of 1987 batch. Before taking over as Principal Chief Commissioner of Income Tax, she held a charge of Principal Chief Commissioner of Income Tax for Tamil Nadu and Puducherry region. And Mumbai, as we know, is the largest region in terms of revenue collection. She has served in various parts of the country, including Chennai, Mumbai, Nagpur and Bangalore. During her distinguished career of 34 years, she held key assignments in the department, including assessment, Tribunal Representation, TDS, investigation, central charge and international taxation. She is an alumnus of Stella Maris College at Chennai. She has a penchant for writing and reading and a keen interest in music. So join me once again extending a warm welcome for Ms. Geetha Ravichandran. Accompanying her we have Suruchi Chaudhary, one of our colleagues, who is also an IRS officer of 2017 batch and an MBA. So let's give her the thank you. So now I would request ma'am to please come on stage and take that. Thank you, ma'am. Before the conversation starts, I would like to take this opportunity to invite our Honorable Chancellor, Mr. Samir Arora, on stage to felicitate our guest, Ma'am Geetha. I would also invite Professor Viren Rajshekharan Pillai to join, our Vice Chancellor. So ma'am, this is a shawl from Somaiya Vidyavihar and it's hand woven by artisans from Kutch. I would request VC sir to give the book. Thank you, sir.
They are not only artisans, they are our students.
They are our students also. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I would request Samir sir to please stay and speak a few words.
Good morning, ma'am. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming here today. I'm delighted that she accepted. When I was a student doing my public administration degree at Harvard University, we had similar invitations and an opportunity to meet people at the excellence in their field. And they were again conversations. And through those conversations, one thing was what we learnt in class on a topic which was relevant, and another is what we learnt through these conversations. And I think it was a wonderful experience, and I am delighted that Professor Raman Ramachandran has started this tradition here. In fact, long ago when I came back, I had started something like this, and then with the passage of time, rather than growing, it ebbed away. Professor Pillai, once he took charge, he created the Somaiya public lecture series, and this is wonderful as a conversation, so it's wonderful to have this. I met Madam in my capacity as the Vice President of the Indian Merchants Chamber a few months ago. And it was in connection with the budget where our finance minister was coming to Mumbai. And we wanted to explain to her what our thoughts or what we might want to ask the finance minister. The finance minister had requested the associations or the representatives to come publicly and talk to her. So post that formal conversation, our conversation went, and I don't know how, to books. Maybe I told her that we run a bookshop called Kitab Khana. And then the conversation went to poetry. And the title of her collection of poems, Arjavam, which I think what my father told me is being straightforward, and the root of the word Arjun also comes from. And also I think in the Ashtavakra Gita you have, Arja is one of the 5 things you need to get mukti, which is being straightforward. Kshamarja Vadaya Tosha, Kshama, Arja, Daya, Tosha and Satya. These are the 5 which Ashtavakra tells Raja Janak. But I think in that poetry, in the collection I read, what occurred to me was a sense of the past, a sense of the present, what we have, what we are losing, and what we must keep. And so this is what I got from the poems I read. And I invited her if she were able to visit Kitab Khana. And she said, I'll come. Because I thought she's from the income tax. We are always a little frightened of but I do believe that the IRS does the country a great service. When anybody says otherwise, I say, how will this country run if there is no tax collection? I recently took a local from Churchgate to Vasai, and I was delighted at the quality of the service. And so, and it cost almost nothing. Now, I'm not here commenting on what it should cost or what it should not cost, but it is through such public services and public services can only happen if there is institutions such as the IRS, and that tax is put to good use. Collection, you have to collect and then put to good use. So ma'am, I am delighted for you to come here, and we really are happy and really we hope our association continues and you enlighten our students. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Samir sir, for your words, always reminding us of great values and always encouraging us to do better. Now, it's my turn to invite Dr. Raman Ramachandran, PhD Director, KJ Somaiya Institute of Management and Dean Faculty of Management Studies, Somaiya Vidyavihar University. He has over 3 decades of work experience and a multifaceted personality himself, and quite accomplished. So I'll not stand between the audience and the great discussion which is going to be here. Looking forward to a lively discussion. Thank you, Dr. Raman. All yours.
Can you hear me? Yeah, ma'am, yours is on. So, shall I call you ma'am, Geetha? Okay. Yeah. No, first of all, thank you also for being here. So the main objective is that for the students to understand that it takes more than just a degree to have a career, right? And there are lots of opportunities and crossroads where you take decisions which then leads to a successful or a less successful career. And we thought somebody like you, and I will actually also bring out a little bit more about women in women and career, because increasingly we have about 40% of our students who are women. So they also need to and perhaps can learn from some of your experiences. So that would be the objective. Now if there are questions which are sensitive, I realize you are in a position, so please say that I'm not going to answer.
Certainly.
Yes. So let me start by, so today is 5th of August. 31st was the last day for filing income tax. So like the students with their exams and like the corporate world with the 31st of March when you're all trying to push in as much sales as possible, perhaps for you and your team also this was a hectic month. So is this like the week of the year when you are most relaxed, or it doesn't really matter, every week is the same?
So what has happened, the department has undergone a lot of digital transformation. So the returns which are filed, and you can file the returns online, are filed to the CPC. There is a CPC which is located in Bangalore which receives the returns, and now the system is so capable, and we know that most people push these obligations to the last minute,
like me,
like many of us, and the system is so robust that it actually accepts these returns seamlessly. There is information, as you are aware, the tax filing system has now made available the assessee information system, which is accessible to each and every assessee, so that before filing the returns, they are aware, they know that we know what their transactions are. If there is something they have missed out, so that is the level of transformation that has happened in the department.
Okay.
And with the use of AI and machine learning tools and data analytics, we capture the data relevant to the assessee so that the chances of error while filing a return are minimized.
Yeah.
The assessee has access to all the information we have about the yearly transactions, so that they, like how much interest they've earned from the bank, if there's a property that is sold, that is also available. And coming back to your question, whether it was a hectic period for us, since it is a centralized processing mechanism, it actually does not impact the field formations, as we call ourselves, this charge of Mumbai. There are people, of course, who may come to us asking for help on how to do it. There is how they log into each assessee can log into the e-filing portal and do it seamlessly sitting in the comfort of his home or office.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, and this has also to a large extent, because the steps are now, it is available, how you proceed. The need of intermediaries has also been minimized. So it is a seamless process, and I think this year we have almost around 7.63 crores of returns filed, and that has, it is much more than last year.
Yeah.
It's a jump over last year, and of course the last minute filing was a staggering number. I don't remember the exact figures, but we have coped. The system has actually coped and has been able to accept these returns.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. I think the only thing on the 31st, you didn't get the receipt of your additional tax payment immediately.
Yes.
It came a few hours later.
Okay.
But
The
otherwise
beauty,
it-
if you will permit me to add, the beauty of the way the system has, now coped and matured is that many of the returns are even being processed within a day. And refunds have also been issued, which was unthinkable a few years ago.
Yeah.
Refunds have also been issued in many of the cases, mainly of individuals.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. And so maybe, a related question. So how would we compare with some of the other countries when it comes to the sophistication of the tax filing? I mean, do you have some ideas about are we on
Yes,
the...
I think we are actually leading the entire pack, not just in the tax filing systems, also in the faceless assessment systems.
Okay.
We are also now to reduce the interface between the department and the assessee and to make it a seamless process. We've introduced this faceless system of assessments, and that has probably the numbers that have been done in the faceless assessments ever since it has been introduced from 2020 onwards is probably the highest for any country in the world.
Okay. So there are other questions related to that. We'll come to that later. But I want to go back to your very beginning, so to speak. We all know that you studied in Stella Maris. So the question is, what did you study and how did you end up in IRS? Is this what you wanted? If you could share some of those early moments and how you got to where you are.
So I did English literature. That was my subject. It was not a very conscious decision to enter civil services per se, but the atmosphere, the people at home, my father, my older sister had gotten into IES, the Indian Economic Service, and then into the Reserve Bank. And she was the one, actually what was so attractive about getting into the services or having a career was, I think many of the youngsters will relate to it, is the sense of freedom. You can break free from, the control of your parents. You can do whatever you want. You can chart out a new life, something different, something adventurous, not be restricted by these do's and don'ts. And I think that was the biggest trigger.
Okay.
For
motivation.
me, and we were three sisters, and all three of us at some point ended in the civil services. Only I have continued.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So was joining the corporate world ever an option?
So in those days it was not considered very government service, at least in the south, in Chennai where I grew up, was considered the most elite of the professions, the choices available. And I'm sure that is not the case today. It is definitely, things have, liberalization has opened up so many opportunities to the youngsters, which the other thing which I did think of very briefly was teaching. If I had not gotten into this, I may have done a PhD and become a teacher.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And been sitting where you are sitting.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
that's right, yeah. So it's been more than 30 years now in this, and maybe if you could reflect on how life has changed for you in this career, how have kind of, the working conditions changed, if you could take a few moments to reflect on that.
Yes. So when we entered the service, that is we had 2 years of training, initially at Mussoorie and then at Nagpur. And when I joined the field in Chennai in 89, frankly speaking, the training doesn't equip you for the challenges you face on your job. It's still, you have to learn the ropes.
On the job.
So, yes, you have to learn, and it's a constant challenge in a sense. It was something that seemed very intimidating initially. especially since I don't have a background in commerce or law, and that's what we deal with. The act, the law as the act has been made is subject to change every year with every budget, and that's the best part of the tax system in India. We are so open to all the changes. There's so much of flexibility and change, but for an administrator, tax administrator in the initial days, it was a little challenging because we are dealing with assessments of an earlier year, not the current year. So you have to know, you have to be really updated. Okay. So it keeps you on your toes. Initially I was a little, and then we had those experiences of participating in searches. When we are young, we are all drafted for the search duty. So it did keep us on our toes, and over the years I think you become more comfortable doing what you do. Initially it is a challenge. You wonder what is there in the department for you. While everywhere, I think the grass is always greener on the other side.
Yes.
So there were options, there were thoughts whether it is better to move out. Some of my colleagues did move out, but somehow having stuck with this, I think it has its own rewards.
Yeah. So a related question, and particularly for many of the women professionals here, I think as a woman, and I guess when you joined it was a male-dominated kind of an environment. Are there specific challenges that you faced? How did you hold your ground? And so kind of what kind of, helped you go through this very paternalistic and male-dominated environment?
So when I joined in 1987, in a batch of 100, we were 16. There were only 16 lady officers. I think now the numbers have considerably increased. Like Suruchi's batch would be much more. When there is obviously certain jobs are not considered suitable for women. People do not think that you will be willing to stay for long hours. And even if you do, they'll think that you're neglecting your family. So it's a double whammy. But one thing, the challenges, because of the way women are made, I don't know, of my generation especially, you have a little sense of guilt about, know, that you're not doing enough, especially where children are concerned. But with support, with the support system, one generally copes. And I must say this about the government service compared vis-a-vis the corporate world. Government has institutionalized many benefits for women. We have 6 months of maternity leave, and the best part is 2 years of child care leave, which can be taken till for the education of children till they reach the age of 18. I'm sure that no private employer will even
think about
dream,
it.
and this is fully paid. The leave is fully paid. You're fully paid.
And you can take this block of 2 years any time.
Over a period of time till your second child reaches the age of 18.
Okay.
So actually during the crucial period when you should be there for the examinations, or you feel the need that you need to be around, that is the big advantage. So that way the government service has, has actually realized the need and the, the peculiar situation of women employees, and has been very considerate in this regard. As I think corporate sector has better childcare facilities, daycare facilities for children. We have in certain places, but Mumbai is such a large city. Mumbai, we have not yet managed to bring about that kind of childcare facilities. But corporate sector has, whatever I have seen, better childcare facilities when working mothers are able to bring the children to the office and then leave them in very safe and hygienic conditions. In that regard, maybe we still have some work to do. But by and large, I think government has taken care of the special needs of women.
Yeah.
Now coming to the fact whether there are any peculiar challenges, see, there is no bar on a woman, there's no glass ceiling as such as what you see. If today in the CBDT, till some time back, till the month of May, we out of the 7 members, we had 4 members who were women, lady officers. So right now there are two still remain, 2 have retired. And there is actually no bar if you are seen as committed to your work, if you are involved, and if you can make the right decisions, get work done. These are the qualities you are judged by.
Yeah.
So I don't think there is a bias against women or any other than probably stereotyping. That is part of what society is. So women may be stereotyped, and there may be some kind of perceptions that if it's a lady officer, she may prefer to take a lighter assignment, but it's not true. People have taken up challenges and have succeeded brilliantly.
Yeah, absolutely.
In that,
So one of the, there is an expectation that for career growth, networking is quite important, right? I mean, and I don't know whether in the private sector, same, certainly in the corporate world, there is an emphasis on how many people do you know, how do you connect. Is that true in the public sector? And have you seen that women are disadvantaged when it comes to kind of building these networks?
So I don't think it is so stark, but like in any other job, visibility.
Yeah.
If a woman worker is visible.
Golf, I believe, used to be very common with bureaucrats in Delhi at one point.
Yes, there are people who choose to do that, but visibility and your ability to take on challenges is what matters. If you're given additional responsibility, if you are seen as willing to take that on, that is the biggest plus point in your career progression. Networking, like the way it happens in the corporates, maybe a small percentage of that may matter, but I think reputation spread very fast. So we, as in other sectors, even in the corporate world, we have the annual performance appraisal system where you're graded on various qualities, and that is actually plays a large role in the way or in whether you are picked up for more challenging assignments, whether you're considered willing to take up some go on a deputation, go outside the department, and I think that way the way you perform. From my experience, I will say that people know you for what you are.
Absolutely.
Whether you, whatever you try to project, or whether you try to project or whether you don't try to project, you are finally known for what you are. And in an environment where you interact with people on a day-to-day basis for so many years, it's very possible. It is that you cannot pretend or project to be something and you are not.
So in other words, sincerity and how well you do work eventually
Professionalism, your ability to take decisions, and integrity. These are qualities for which people assess you, and you get known for that.
Absolutely.
So these are more important than networking, according to me.
Okay. But I've also, and I worked for 1 year in the central government in National Chemical Laboratory, and the confidential reports of your bosses used to be a very big thing. And,
yes.
So I'm sure that there are bosses who probably don't write the truth for whatever reasons, but what I hear from you is that eventually those qualities will overcome even those
So bad bosses are it's
Fact of life.
fact of life.
okay.
Yeah, you can't wish them away.
Yeah.
But I would think that if you look at it, basically they are either those who want you to do something which you are not inclined to do, or who stop you from working, and who just make it appear as if who have maybe very high standards, very perfectionist.
Yeah.
But I think you can, or there may be certain people who are just sadistic, who don't like others for whatever reason. But I think every bad boss gives you a point of learning. There is a point of inflection from which you can go forward. And even at the worst of times, all of us have faced it. But I always, even they can't harm you beyond a point, or they cannot put you down beyond a point. So it is something you can deal with and move on.
Okay, yeah, okay. I think this is something that all of you should note, because as Madam said, you will come across bosses who are not in your kind of perception of an ideal and how to deal with such situations like that. Yeah. So you can obviously learn from bad bosses, but I'm sure there are people who have inspired you, bosses and others. So could you talk a little bit about role models who have inspired you, the work that you do, and how you are?
So there have been many. There have been many officers. Although there is a different perception about the department outside. The income tax department is probably not anybody's favorite department. But I have found people in my own bosses, immediate bosses, who have shown great conviction, who have been very decisive in difficult moments. And there has been one particular officer who was there in Chennai when I just joined. She's no more now. But the quickness with which she used to take decisions, if you went to her with a problem, a solution was just a phone call away. She would just pick up the phone and she would give instructions or speak to somebody and try and sort it out. And that she was one person who, although she was considered a terror in the eyes of the rest, I found the way she conducted herself, the way she her decisiveness, her conviction, her clarity was something that I actually admired.
Okay.
And she was always on a problem-solving mode, and very outspoken, very frank, never afraid of anybody, never afraid of saying things which may not be popular. So these were things that you see in people. And the other set, there have been many role models, it's plural I should say. There have been people who pursued other interests very, very passionately. Like there has been one officer again a lady officer whom I worked with in Chennai in my initial days. She was one of the most feared that time director of investigation. She did a very complex political case, and she had to leave, or she chose to leave. But she was a very good Veena player, and she has a great interest in spirituality. She still lives in Chennai, and I meet her whenever I go there.
Okay, yeah. So we know about your other interests. Samir talked about it. We'll come back to that. But you are obviously in a very senior, busy position, and this whole concept of work-life balance. So how does that work with you? And I remember when I came to visit, I saw a treadmill in the room that we were asked to sit. So I just want to know, are you a runner? How do you What is work-life balance for you?
So the treadmill is a new addition.
Okay.
And I have used it exactly for a week because I don't find the time. But work-life, when it comes to work-life balance, I think that setting boundaries is important, which I was much more, a little more specific about the boundaries when I was younger and I had a growing family to look after. So
and how do you define
timeless.
those boundaries in terms of time?
Mainly time.
Yeah.
And of course, take not carry work back home. That's one thing I've managed to do for whatever reason. It's that whatever are the problems and pressures that you have in office, and sometimes it is overwhelming. Once you step out of the office and you go home, it's a different world altogether.
Yeah.
And I think whether it's reading or music or playing a game or meeting friends, it really helps you unwind. And so you come back with a clearer set of thoughts when you come back the next day.
Yeah.
So I think that is one way to cope, and actively cultivate some interest outside the demands of the work you do.
And is this common amongst a lot of your peers? And would you say that this ability of yours to really separate these two worlds was perhaps also a key to your success?
No, see, I think people cope in different ways. We've all done these management training programs in all these years. We've been, compulsorily made to do certain programs, and then we have options to do these retreats, meditation, all that kind of thing. And I think everyone has some coping mechanism. It may not be the same. I think for some people it's just binge watching TV. It takes your mind off.
Completely.
And I think that's, as long as it works, it's good enough.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, great. Yeah. So we have your colleague here who is an MBA. So I actually wanted to touch on this subject of is civil service and IRS an option for our MBA students, and maybe it is actually for you, Suruchi. I mean, did your MBA equip you better to be a civil servant? And maybe from your perspective, from having worked with Suruchi, what do they bring different to the table?
I think a part of this question Suruchi should answer. So at MBAs, we have several people who have done management degrees and who have come into the civil services. I have a twin sister who had done her management from IIM Bangalore, and she joined the civil services 1 year after me, but she's quit.
Okay.
She's left and she's gone off. So MBAs are, what we do in our day-to-day jobs. It involves a lot of tasks. There is a commonality. There is an intersection. We have a lot of tasks which a person with a management degree may do in a corporate setup. So the way our job, like today what I do and what many of my officers do, involve handling, of course, your finances, then your HR responsibilities, and we have, of course, the judicial and legal aspects of our work, which is very important. So I don't think they are two watertight compartments. Management is also one of the subjects which a candidate can take in the UPSC exams. And isn't it, Suruchi? So it is, I think it is definitely an option which people can consider. It gives you a larger perspective than we have many officers who have done management from the IIMs, from various other foreign universities. So it is an option, definitely.
So maybe
Suruchi
maybe your perspective on.
Yes, so first I will want to tell maybe what civil services brings to you, even if after you wish to come after MBA. So as this goes, is the freedom of possibilities, and that is what we actually have. So we don't kind of get stereotyped into one set of profile, which kind of tends to happen when you are in the corporate sector. You're only good for one particular task. So here, 1 year I might be doing international taxation. Next year I might be in the investigation wing doing these searches. Third, I may want to again come back and do the administration work for the Mumbai office. So it is very diverse. The skill sets are very diverse. There is no time for monotony as such to kind of set in. You can take study leaves in between. You can go pursue public policy. There are various other departments also you go to within the state government, the central government. So it's no longer you not just a finance professional or an HR or a marketing person. You can be all of it at different points of time. So this is what the civil services brings to you. And I think what an MBA can kind of get to the civil service, by training, we are kind of taught to take decision. We are taught to kind of do these projects and then present these projects and make things viable for an organization. So these are the aspects I think which has helped me so far, and it's the finance background that kind of helps with the evaluation and analysis of the books that we go through.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's really clear perspective of what is available and what you can do, yeah. So slightly different, I think you alluded to it earlier about digitization and the faceless kind of interaction now with taxpayers, and so in the corporate world, digitization, we all talk about it, but it is also a big change management for the organization. And I know organizations where digital things exist and the parallel old processes also exist. So as a leader in the IT department, how was this change management kind of implemented, and if you could kind of illustrate some peculiar or interesting anecdotes to illustrate the challenges that you faced in this whole change management.
So ever since I think the early 90s, department has been gearing up towards the digital way of transactions. So at each point in time, we have moved towards maybe the changes were initially small, but the incremental effect over the years has been really tremendous. And like payment of taxes, earlier you had to go to the bank, stand in the queue, fill 3 copies of the same challan and make sure you enclose the correct copy with your return, otherwise you won't get tax credit. Now then we moved towards when the payment data has been captured in OLTAs, which comes from the banks, centralized, and credit is given. Then we have the 26AS where your tax paid, whatever is the tax is paid, whether it's TDS or as self-assessment or as advance tax, everything is there in one place. So things have moved towards making the entire process more seamless, more assessee friendly. That has been one of the goals, I should say, of the department, because department is very aware that outsiders, taxpayers may see us as people who have the power of life and death over them. It's not that. We are now in a non-adversarial regime. We are there as, we act as facilitators and not merely as enforcers. Of course, we are enforcers of law, we do get after defaulters, but for the ordinary taxpayer who just wants to fulfill his obligations, we are interested in acting as facilitators. Digitization has been the biggest help in this regard.
Yeah, Okay.
So the need, even grievances, if some grievance is to be filed, the grievance can be filed online. So grievances, one need not visit the office of the concerned person and then try and explain. Once grievance is lodged in the online system, then we are expected to act upon it, and there is a time limit. So there is in fact something called the Taxpayers Charter, which has been put in the statute, where we have timelines which specify the period within which we should attend to certain tasks. So this digitization has helped in the payment of taxes, in the filing of returns, and most recently in the assessments, whichever are done. Those are not, it's only a small percentage of the total returns that are filed which are picked up for scrutiny, and that is done in a faceless manner. And all the submissions are online, all the interactions are online. Even if there's a video conferencing, it is done online, and there's a dynamic jurisdiction. That is, a case in Mumbai can be assessed in Guwahati or in Trivandrum.
Yeah.
So that has actually been the extent of the extent to which use of digital technology has helped us, and I'm sure it has helped the taxpayers.
Yeah.
When there are of course challenges, mainly because of lack of information. Sometimes a person has said, I have sent a reply, but the officer has said, I have not got the reply. So those are gaps because of which it may not have been uploaded in the portal where it is meant to be. But what we have seen is that 80% of whatever we have done, there are certain glitches, but 80% has been really successful. And also even appeals. The appeal system is also by and large, except for some exceptions which are carved out, the appeal is also done online. You can file your appeal online, you can make your submissions online and receive your order.
Yeah. No, I think where I was trying to understand is, so even in the corporate world, there's a lot of digital transformation that organizations try. But many of them fail because, the whole change, because people by nature don't want to change.
There's a resistance,
So how did the IT department, kind of overcome this? Because you have a much bigger organization and also people who probably did not come from the digital kind of background. So was there a lot of training? How did the organization manage that?
Yes, there has been a lot of training, but you would probably notice that now the younger generation, the millennials who are now entering the service, they are very tech savvy.
Absolutely.
So the resistance, if at all, was from the older block. Of people who had very little exposure. So at that time, we have had people who have resisted, that we don't know this, send us off to some place where I don't need to
deal with this.
But we have a system now on which officers function, ITBA. So this is constantly updated, and there is a regular system of training the officers and staff. And that is done, I think, very frequently. Any new functionality that is introduced, and there is a training module which can be downloaded, and you can go through that at your leisure. You don't even need to attend classes. So people have learnt, and at the end I think people have understood that this digitization is for the better, it's for betterment of the entire system, and people do benefit from this.
So you also alluded to how, IT department is also using analytics and AI for, really understanding maybe deviations, etc., better. But the larger question, there is generally this whole fear about what's going to be the future of work, right? With AI, Chat GPT, all of that. Any thoughts, and if you were to say, what should students, prepare for to this new way of working?
So, this is entirely my personal belief.
Yeah.
I think that however much AI may advance, or you may have very certain jobs done more easily or more clearly.
I'm just checking on time. So, are we okay? Yeah. Okay. Good. Please. Sorry. Yeah.
More, speedily or more easily by use of this AI. I think AI can never supplant human intelligence, human decision making, and have this, like as administrators, we meet so many people.
Absolutely.
And you need to deal with the people on the other side with compassion. I don't think AI, whether for any of the civil services, even more so for the administrative service, you can never supplant these qualities, especially that of certain some kind of discretion, or maybe an intuitive judgment of a situation, or dealing with others with a little compassion. AI can never fill those needs, and I think therefore AI will only be a tool that is used in administration. It can never take over. That will be a very one of those situations you see in a sci-fi movie, which is not desirable.
Exactly.
I think we will continue to use, we will adapt more to these changes. We will use the benefits of whatever it has to offer without letting this overtake us. At least I don't see this happening in the next 50 years. Beyond that, you don't know the speed of.
But I think I know the beauty of what you said about AI cannot bring human compassion and human wisdom.
Yes.
And that will never be, one.
It's ours. It's ours. Nobody can replace us.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah. Great. So coming back to this other interest that you have of being a poet. So maybe how did this whole passion for poetry start? And you have written 2 books, and we'll come to that.
Actually, I've been doing it ever since my late teens, and maybe publishing a few. Over the years, it's always been it was initially poetry. Then I moved on to writing other kind of what does one say, short pieces, observations on life. But then I've come back to poetry. More, it actually was catalyzed by this COVID experience, when most of us found ourselves cooped up in our homes, and we had those 3 months from March, I think, till June or July. When I was here, then again at that time I was posted in Bombay, no family with me, and I could not even fly out. And that seemed like a very I felt eerie at some time, that you are here and you are completely isolated. That was what triggered my interest. It was renewed my interest in poetry.
And that's the time when you wrote the second book?
First book.
The first book.
Second has been recently done.
And is there a very, favorite poem of yours in those 2 books?
In the first, I guess I do have.
Okay, so I have a copy here, because there is one poem that I particularly thought you should read out to the students, because I think it relates to the younger generation and the world that we live in. But maybe your favorite poem.
Is that The House That Let Us Go? Is that the one you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about the one about the flute seller.
That is in this.
In this one, yes.
Yeah.
That's the one that I would
Yeah. Okay.
like you to
want
read.
Me
But
to read? Okay,
I
I'll
want you
read
to
that.
read your favorite one
Okay.
first.
My favorite is from this, my first collection.
Yeah.
And I think students may relate to this also. It's called The House That Let Us Go. It's a little long. Is it okay? It will take
Yes,
about 3
please.
minutes.
Yeah. So how are we doing for time? Can you just tell me, because I don't have a watch. What is the time now? Okay, so we still have time. Yeah,
Yeah.
please. Yeah.
So this is a poem. It's called The House That Let Us Go. It's part true story, part fiction. Okay. So it is a goat would sneak in through the fence and chew up a bunch of honeysuckle. But we had to open the gate to show it the way out, as it would bleat on cluelessly. The rose bush just didn't want to grow there and had to be given strong doses of strong coffee till it was coaxed to bring forth a single bloom. The brood of banana trees thrived, although neglected, and would end up on the plate as a boring meal. The mangoes appeared every summer, but were so sour that they had to be pickled and put away. Even the fruit thieves would have none of it. There were 7 coconut trees planted at an auspicious hour, grand fronds grim and ghostly in the sticky, brooding night air. It was a jasmine that climbed up a trellis, blooming every evening, its fragrance lilting like a melody that made the house special. And yet, the house was a trap in which we were buried by expectations of well-meaning parents. The sharp-tongued women next door peered over walls and ticked us off for playing cricket on the streets. Escape we did, vaulted to freedom, fueled by our whims, aided by liberal market winds. Now, the old squat house, built on a shoestring, has been gobbled up by a sleek building. A cosmetic patch of periwinkle, graveyard flowers, as father would say, is the only product of this soil. The beauty that we had barely acknowledged now appears in streaks of memories. We are gentler when we breathe free.
Okay. Yeah, very nice. So this is something that I thought,
Yes.
would
Yeah.
relate to this
Generation.
beyond hashtags.
Yeah. This is a poem called Beyond Hashtags. A flute seller trudges up the road, breathing soft, silken music that floats into the homes of those who could buy all the flutes of him for small change. Old melodies flowing through the empty reed rise and linger in the street air. The flute seller's step is light as he dangles his unsold stock on his shoulders. In the high rises, noise-cancelling earphones shut out the music. There's no Insta-feed to tell the story. Beyond likes and comments, there's a happening life outside, a subtle medley snaking up the streets.
Yeah, beautifully said. So, this for all of us, there is a life beyond Instagram and, LinkedIn and social media.
Yes.
And I can relate to this flute seller because I also grew up in Chennai and I kind of remember,
Yes.
these people walking along the streets. Don't see them anymore, unfortunately. Still there today? Yeah.
In Nepensi Road? Okay.
Yeah, really? Okay. Yeah. Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. So it's still there. So, yeah,
Yes,
okay.
yes, Sundays.
Yeah, great. So quickly, couple of other, I think you're very positive because when you talked about the whole confidential report, etc. But is life fair?
Definitely not fair.
Okay. So if it is not fair, how do we deal with it? How did you deal with it?
So I think all of us go through adverse circumstances, and the best thing is to let it pass. The worst of time this too shall pass.
Absolutely.
And
that, by the way, is one of my favorite poems.
Okay. So I think that it's say in a career, when you have certain things that are not going the way you have thought it should, it's not going according to your expectations, or you're facing whatever, maybe, I think the best, according to me, is to lie low for some time. There is a scope for not being, to let things happen, to let this time and whatever are the solutions for the problem you're facing emerge. And I have seen over so many years that definitely these are all, everything is transitory. Your good times are transitory, so are your bad times. So, and grit, I think grit is one thing that we all should have. I've seen this in many people, especially a lot of the older generation. They handle losses of family members or health issues with so much of grit and courage and grace. And I think that's what
absolutely.
the worst.
I fully agree with you. I think grit and determination is very important, and something that you need to think about and develop. So I'm going to now, stop here, because I'm sure there's a lot of questions out there. So give them an opportunity to ask questions. So who wants to go first? Yeah, I thought you were going to be the first person because you were so absorbed in whatever she was saying. Yeah. So please go ahead. Introduce yourself very quickly and then ask your question. You can stand up, so you can, everyone can see.
Hello, ma'am. My name is Nikhil, and the entire session I kept listening to you, and it all felt really nice, just to understand your perspective as to how things are in the public sector, because we usually have private sectors here, right? My question, when you were talking about the public sector, it was with regard to that, where do you envision it to be ahead, with regard to, we see there's digital inclusion now, there is more, better working environment that you spoke about, you touched upon this. So the gap that I see, between the private and the public today, it's bridging very well, There's a lot of millennials that I see also coming into this environment. So where do you see, future of, the public sector in terms of maybe career or in terms of, growth, opportunities, possibilities? If you could just shed some light on it, where do you see it ahead? You envision it?
Yes. So there are two things. One is how the organization itself will become. So there's, I'm sure all of you are aware, there's a lot of churning. We have now, earlier the entry for government service was at 21 when you're in your 20s, and there are exams, competitive exams you take. Now you have the concept of lateral entry. People are entering with experience from the private sector. They are coming into the government. They bring that, it's a synergy basically. They bring in the best of the practices they have learnt and acquired, and they bring it in. So I think that over the years, whatever the organizations are, there is a lot of churning, there is a lot of streamlining, there's a lot of conscious awareness and transparency. Earlier, this was probably one
black box,
Gothic structure, but now we are also accountable. We are being seen as accountable. There's a flat world outside that so much of social media, so much of activity in social media about experiences and about expectations. So I think we'll become a leaner and a meaner structure. Meaner in the sense of being more effective. Okay, so I think that we are progressing with the help of technology and digitization. I think it will be whatever, as good, as effective, and as professional as you can wish for. Absolutely. It's not that earlier you give like even if you look at filing for a license in for the driver's license or whatever. Now you know the way the procedures take place, the steps. Or the best example of digital, although I don't belong to that department, is in the railways.
Yeah.
You don't belong to that age when we used to stand in serpentine queues to book a ticket.
Absolutely.
And that too 3 months in advance during the vacation. You remember that?
Yeah.
But now it's all done online. I think government departments will also move towards that kind of efficiency and transparency. I see, and people who enter the service, there are very bright young boys and girls who enter, who have so much of, they bring in all that, whatever the best of what the education system offers.
Yeah.
So definitely it will be something much better than what, there will be seamless interaction, reduction in time delays. So we will be a very efficient organization.
Great. Yeah. So, maybe we go there first and then we'll come back. Yeah.
Hello, ma'am, and this was a very insightful session for all of us. I just had a very basic question that I want to ask, that what is your lesson from life that you have lived so far, from all your experiences that you have held? I mean, what has it that you feel like we as youngsters should learn this lesson from you?
It's a very tough question, although it sounded very simple. I think one thing is that don't be cowed down by circumstances. Don't be too affected by the opinions and reactions of others. Be your own person. You should trust yourself. The self-belief is the most important quality in navigating any circumstances, and definitely it will help people in their careers as well.
Great, yeah. The one on the back there, yes.
Hi ma'am, good afternoon. So after such a serious conversation, I just wanted to shift your context. So I wanted to ask, like, if you are in touch with movies, we have seen IT department as they raid in, find out money in rich people's houses. So are there any cases in your life you've seen?
So I have taken part in searches, but I cannot give you details because we are bound by the oath of secrecy. When you enter government service, you take an oath of secrecy. And because of that, I will not be able to tell you the actual details. Yes, it is a very challenge. Organizing a search or taking part in it is a big challenge, because one of the most important things that we have in mind is that you are invading the privacy of another person. So we try to deal with this as professionally as possible, and what you're seeing taken away or seized or whatever is only what is basically unaccounted. We don't carry away everything we find.
Okay, let's go there first, and then we'll...
Good afternoon. My name is Humaira Kazi. Ma'am, your statement about being a woman and people telling you this is not a women's job, and even today during my internship I got to hear this from people that I had a market visit work. So they said it's not for a woman, women shouldn't be roaming here and there, and the people I was interacting with. And I'm a big, I get very offended when I get such comments. I don't like people telling me I can't do this because of a certain gender I belong to. And you also mentioned that there are certain things given by government for women where they get leave. Do you face men questioning you why are women getting years of leaves and paid leaves, and what are their attitude towards you, and how do you think as a woman we should face those comments and keep on going at a professional level?
Okay, this as far as prejudice, yes, there is a degree of built-in prejudice, but I think it is for us beyond anything as women to assert our own, believe in ourselves and assert our ability to do things in the best possible way. So all this criticism, all this talk will just quieten after a period in time. About your question about whether people say that, oh, you're lucky, you get leave when we don't. Let me tell you, if a man is given 2 years of childcare leave, there will definitely not be, we all know from experience, any such quality, effort to take care of the children. So it is not something, it is an acknowledged, we have paternity leave, we have of 2 weeks as compared to 6 months of maternity leave. I know many of the officers who avail of paternity leave, and when they come back and I ask them, what have you done? Have you taken care of the baby? They look, they have taken care of themselves. So just not to take these things seriously. Let people say what they want.
Absolutely, yeah. I think this gentleman here, okay, you want to go there first? Yes. Yeah.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Thank you for the session. I wanted to ask you your personal opinion on the Indian taxation system, wherein we are a very heavy taxation nation, and I think it motivates people to avoid tax and evade taxes because of being so heavily taxed.
Not at all.
So I wanted to ask that if the government or the bureaucrats look that if we reduce the taxation or to a certain limit, and that would promote people in paying more taxes, is that an alternative?
Okay, so some time back, I think a few decades ago, the maximum marginal rate of taxation was as high as 93%, yes. 92.5, 93%. Now it is, the average is around 30%. And over the years, we have, the tax rates have been reduced. We have given incentives for investment. We have given deductions. Now what has happened? If there was a lower, tax rates are not high, the reason for evasion is not the high rate of taxes at all. It is, there are many other factors, and a lot of it has not merely to do with the borders of our country. There are also cross-border transactions where the businesses are structured to reduce taxes. I won't name names, but all of you must have read about who and why certain big multinationals and corporates are being scrutinized in various countries for not paying enough taxes. You all know the names. So it is not the high rate of tax which is the reason for tax evasion. Some of it can be sheer ignorance, some of it can be audacity. They think they'll get away and nobody will get after them. And there are other practices. But we have various laws. We have the PMLA to get after the money laundering. We have the Benami Act. So it is not a very simple, answer saying that it is only because of the high tax rates. Tax rates have gone down. Compliances have been made simpler. And as I said, we are facilitators now. We facilitate the taxpayer in complying with the obligations. So it is, and if we have, many people ask for, why have income tax? And our nation is one country which has the progressive system of taxation. Progressive means it takes direct taxes, takes more from people who have more, who can pay more. Unlike your other indirect taxes, you have a flat percentage across the board for everyone. So we have moved, and this as a country which has the progressive system of taxation, we have done a great deal of balancing to see that we don't take income tax from those who cannot afford to pay. And this, the entire tax is used for the benefit, whatever the taxes are collected, it's used for the public good, whether it's in your roads or your schools or your hospitals. And there is an argument that we have no tax. Why no tax? Then we'll be a nation where the laundering of money happens. Like all your, you have certain countries which are known to be tax havens. And we definitely don't want to become that.
The proportion of taxpayers in our country is still low, although I believe it has improved over the last several decades. So you talked about it is 6.5 crores or something. So
that is the number of returns that are filed in July. We'll have returns filed subsequently also. No, subsequently.
Even afterwards, yeah.
Those audited returns, and then you have that of businesses and all. This is mainly of individuals. No, yes, the numbers may not be large compared to the...
But it has improved over the years.
No, I'll tell you. One major reason is because agricultural income is exempt, and a large portion of the population earns their money from agricultural income. So, but we have, and we are both widening the tax base and deepening the tax base. So we are getting those who need to pay tax in the net.
Okay, great. So one faculty, yes.
Thank you, ma'am, for a wonderful session. I will ask the question from the user perspective, and also referring to the one country, the small country, Estonia, because once I met IT minister in 2018, she mentioned in Estonia to file the ITR, it takes about 30 seconds, about that, or maybe a minute, and the step is yes, yes, and yes. Yes, it's you, income is yours, and agree to submit it. And the age we are moving to digitization, how much time it will take? However, the Estonia is a very small country. We have the volume. How much time it is going to take to reach to that level? Because then there will be mass participation in the taxation system, and also streamlining the process. How far you see like we are heading to, and when it can be achieved like that? Thank you so much.
Yeah, actually this is the first time I'm hearing that Estonia, they take 30 seconds to file. So I will not be able to give you the actual details, but what I understand from what you were saying is that the tax forms may be pre-filled and they just have to agree or disagree. So we are moving towards that. We have, as I said earlier, the SSC information system, which captures all the data through the payment gateways, through various other our data analytics and data collection. What are the transactions done by a particular assessee which will make him liable to the tax? But we also, instead of saying yes, just yes, I agree or I don't, we also give them an option. Once the data is thrown up in the AIS, we give them an option to disagree. And when does this disagreement happen? If, suppose the transaction, the way our businesses happen, if the transaction has been reflected in an earlier year, the RCC has already offered it in an earlier year, or it is not actually his, but because of some data glitch it is shown in his portal. So we offer the assessees an opportunity to disagree, give the reasons, and then file the return. So AIS, the assessee information system, which has come in for the last 2 years, it has been an absolutely effective and a very useful system, which is why I told you the number of errors an assessee may commit while filing a return have been largely minimized. So this 30-second is very difficult for me to answer because we have an entire directorate of systems which takes care of this and the improvement. But we are working towards a single ITR. Now we have different ITRs for different categories of taxpayers. We are working towards one unified ITR which will be out soon. So hopefully maybe a decade, I think, most conservatively.
Okay, great. So last two questions, and I'm going to choose, okay, maybe the lady there, and then I know you've been putting up your hand for a while, so because we are running out of time, it's really pressing, okay, three then.
Hello ma'am, this is Kiran Pawar. I wanted to ask you two questions. So like sir said, about the 30 seconds for income tax filling. I wanted to ask in corporate world there are ERP systems and all to accumulate the data. So how far are we from that kind of system, from cloud technology to give that transparency to the income tax department or all the government about the expenses or the income of a common man and also of a company, so that this system gets too much easier to access and complete the process. And also my second question is that about the poetry. So as a poet myself, as a poetess myself, I wanted to ask that through life has been challenging, as I see. How do you keep that passion alive for the poetry? Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Yeah.
So coming to your first question about how 30 seconds for your return. I've already answered that, and we also have access data. We are also a data-driven administration now. We are take our decisions based on various parameters. We have the profile of the assessee which is captured, and
all the transactions are captured today,
all
right?
the transactions are
almost
captured,
everything that you
and
do.
we also have one big concern, that of privacy. We don't want, it's inviolable. The privacy of a particular assessee is inviolable, and we have to ensure that one assessee's data is not made available to others. So we are a very efficient system as far as that is concerned. As far as poetry is concerned, I think it's something, the more you read, I think reading is one quality or one activity which really enriches you. It gives you the access to the best of minds. It gives you the ability to analyze and look into others' thoughts, and that really helps in whatever you write, whether it's poetry or prose or fiction.
Yeah, quickly.
Hello ma'am, Sharad this side, and first of all I'd like to say that whatever you say just spoke, I could relate it to on a personal level. And secondly, my question is that during the COVID times, the officers, the income tax officers, they were expected to report to the office even before the lockdowns began, the unlocking began. So, and since the whole digitization process is going on and faceless assessment is going on, and all the interaction that an SSC has with the assessing officer is only when he is asked to report. And so what is your take on the hybrid model or the work from home model, so that both of them have to report to the office only as and when required basis? So how do you take it forward?
So during the COVID times, I cannot say we had the hybrid model, but we had a staggered system of coming to office, mainly because of the concern of not spreading the infection. I think we are basically law enforcers. There's the entire department is, the basis of the department is a statute, the Income Tax Act. And I think as far as law enforcers go, it may not, the hybrid model may not work so well as it may work for a,
some of the other,
some corporates.
Yeah.
But there are certain tasks which can be done even when you are not physically present in the office. That to some extent is being done. But I think to be effective as law enforcers, we need to have some presence, some visibility, and people should have access to us. We can't say I'm sitting at home.
Yeah.
So you can't.
Yeah, okay. So you must ask the question, then we call it the last one. Okay.
Hello ma'am, my name is Shivam. My question was about unorganized sector. As in unorganized sector, most of the dealings are done in cash. So how does the income tax department deals with taxation of that, as money laundering can happen with? And my second question would be taxing the agricultural income above a certain level. So would that be possible?
So these are policy statements which I'm not, the one about, especially about taxation of agricultural income, it is still being vigorously debated in the Parliament and other legislatures. I will not comment on that. Now as far as unorganized sectors go, when you look at the quantum of transactions or the nature of transactions, a large number of them are of those people who have who don't have access to finances or the banking system. So they may be they are marginal. They have marginal income. Like you have you may have a flour seller, or you may have certain other retailers. They are earning maybe just for their sustenance. But again, certain transactions which are outside the banking system, where they are helping or cook up books or laundering, that is very much in our radar. The department has access to that kind of information, so we are looking at it. But by and large, those who are, and especially with GST having been introduced, a large number of what you probably mean by this unorganized sector have come into the mainstream. Their data is being captured.
Yeah.
So that has also helped in our tax collection and in our department increasing the number of returns.
Yeah, great. Ma'am, I think we could have gone on, but all good things must come to an end. I know there's more questions there. I have another list of at least 10 questions that I wanted to ask you. But in the interest of time, we have to bring this to a closure. So I personally thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, listening to you, a very diverse set of questions and answers. So thank you for taking the time. And I'm sure the students have benefited a lot from listening to the great career. You can see them nodding their head. So with that, now I hand back to you, Tanya, for whatever is left.
Thank you for the opportunity. It was very interesting to listen to the youngsters and their bright minds.
Absolutely.
So all the best to everyone.
So the first 5 students who asked the questions can collect ma'am's book signed by her from the GLC team.
Yeah. I hope somebody knows who the first 5 were. Yeah, so you've taken note. Yeah.
I would like to request Professor Krishna Shetty, sir, to read out the scroll before it is presented by Raman sir to our esteemed guest.
I have the privilege of reading out the scroll which we have written in honor of our very esteemed guest for the day. Dear Geetha Ravichandran, from figures forms and compliance fair, to verses, rhymes and dreams laid bare. A combination quite unique, an income tax commissioner turned poetess, indeed mystique. In office she holds the rein, a master of numbers, loss and gain. Her sharp mind a calculating blade, untangling taxes, a skill displayed. But deep within her soul's embrace lay hidden words in a poetic space, a world of beauty, thoughts untamed, by numbers freed, her heart reclaimed. With ink and pen her new domain, she weaves her tales, a fresh refrain. Her verses dance like fireflies in the night, illuminating words beyond our sight. Her words a gift to those who see, a bridge between what was and what can be. For in this journey she has found her voice, a poet's soul which is her choice. So let us celebrate this wondrous sight, an income tax commissioner's poetic flight. May her words inspire, ignite and impress, and let's learn from a life's success. Sincerely, KJ Somaiya Institute of Management. Thank you.
So there are some poets in this management school as well. Kripa, do you, with a bit of help from the chat GPT?
I don't know whether I deserve this, these words, but I'm very impressed by the poetry, the lyricism. Thank you.
I would request Kriti to come forward with the mug, which we would like to present to ma'am as a memento. I would like to express my heartfelt appreciation to Srimati Geetha Ravichandran for gracing us with her presence and enlightening us with such words of wisdom. I would like to thank our respected Chancellor and Vice Chancellor for being a constant source of inspiration to all of us and being here with us today. I would also like to express my sincere gratitude to Raman sir for his invaluable contribution to the second lecture of our initiative, Careers in Conversation. I would like to extend thanks to Arun sir, Arvind sir, Kripa ma'am, Krishna sir, Meenal ma'am, and the technical team for ensuring the success of the event with their remarkable efforts. Furthermore, I want to acknowledge the continuous support of the PR and Branding Committee as well as the Alumni Committee. To everyone present here, students and faculty, I thank you all for joining us for this enlightening session and being such a great audience. For all those who couldn't catch this enthralling session live, tune in to our Spotify podcast to catch up.